and that took forever because of how slow it is. And then I went and bought this like ridiculous plumber grade liquid plumber, put that in there. Didn't do
Okay.
any good.
Okay, we're live now.
Oh.
Hey everybody, welcome to Kingdom of Honor. I'm your host Zanman Shane Sabuni, along with my good buddy Jeff. And for the second straight week, I didn't have a blue start stream button. It just started automatically. So Jeff was telling me his plumbing woes. So sorry if you had to listen to that. But um, not the most entertaining stuff in the world. But
No, not as entertaining as our Flash discussion from last week.
no. And a verbal version of this old house is probably not what these people are tuning in for. So. Uh, Although
Especially not from two morons like us.
no, Bob Vila, we are not.
No.
So, um, welcome to Kingdom of Honor. We're not going to cover any live wrestling this week or any wrestling shows this week. Instead, we thought we would talk about, kind of like when Ring of Honor returns, assuming that it does someday, um, and it probably will. I mean, we've talked about this before on the show, but for those of you who don't know, Ring of Honor, probably has the most funding parent company wise of any wrestling organization. More than WWE, more than NJPW, more than Impact, and probably even more than Tony Khan and AEW. It's owned by Sinclair Broadcasting, which is just a multi-billion-dollar broadcasting company.
Well, doesn't Sinclair own Fox Sports?
Yeah, Sinclair bought the Fox Sports networks from Fox when the Disney deal was going down because basically the FCC says, yeah, we'll allow the deal. You just have to get rid of the sports networks. They
Right.
didn't want them to own both Disney to own both ESPN and the other. This other, it's basically it's only like real competition in the Fox Sports networks.
And I mean, that alone is a bazillion dollar industry with all the different, Fox Northeast, Fox Northwest, Fox Washington, Fox Northern Minnesota, whatever. There's just so much money involved in that. And that's one of the things that I actually was thinking about today. When you look at the major players in pro wrestling, you've got the independents, which really aren't doing anything because they can't. They're not funded. Without ticket sales, they're not funded. Well, Ring of Honor is not a independent, and they have the absolute richest parent company out there. So why is it that they are the only one of the big five that isn't doing anything? Well, big four. No,
Because
big five. Yeah.
Ring of Honor without fans is just not Ring of Honor.
Yeah, you could say that about Impact too, but they've been kind of pulling it off. At least they've tried. Like Ring of Honor hasn't even tried. And when they were basing their entire company was built on wrestling. You would think that it would have somewhat worked a lot like NJPW has.
No, I think Ring of Honor, I think Ring of Honor, like unlike any other wrestling promotion I've ever seen, other than ECW, I'll say ECW. They the crowd is a major part of their shows. Impact, I don't feel the same way about. WWE. Obviously, there's usually a huge crowd out there, but usually a very boring crowd.
Well,
Because
it's a very boring show with or without a crowd.
I know, but I mean, unless you get like a great city like Philadelphia or Baltimore or Chicago, obviously, New York, WWE shows usually have a very boring, um, kind of laissez-faire type crowd, I guess. Whereas Ring of Honor, they're always into it. They're always making the show better. Um, they've got great chants and great knowledge base, and it's Ring of Honor to me is not this. It's not Ring of Honor without a crowd out there.
And while I do agree with that, I agree with the fact that they're really crowd driven. It just blows my mind that these guys have now been not working period since March.
Hmm.
I mean, we're going on almost 5 months. It's been 5 months.
Yeah, it was the end of February actually, I think.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, it's been a little over 5 months. These guys haven't worked. They're not going to be in anywhere near ring telling shape once they get back into it. I just it just one. I just worry that Sinclair is just not into it, and that's why we end up in the situations we're in. It reminds me a lot of the old WCW before Turner bought it and before Bischoff took over. It was just like, oh, the owner likes the wrestling, so we're gonna keep it regardless.
Yeah.
And it just it doesn't seem like they're into it. It doesn't seem like they're even putting forth an effort, and that makes me sad because throughout time, I have absolutely loved what they do and the wrestlers they bring in and the fact they've given spotlights to a lot of people. Like, I mean, Jesus, look at the AEW roster. Half those guys wouldn't exist had it not been for Ring of Honor.
Yeah. You see NXT roster too.
Yeah, true, true, very
Um,
true.
and one of my things I was going to say that I really want to see when they come back is I want to see them still bring back the Pure Championship. That was always a title I loved, and then when they scrapped it, I was disappointed, and I'm not like mournful and crying about it, but I definitely disappointed and sad. Um, and now I'm just reading on their website right now that they're returning to action this August, so this month
Oh, good.
in Maryland, and it's going to be a focus on the Pure Championship. So, boom, right away, one of the things I was going to mention in our talk tonight, um, they are going to start with the ROH Pure Title tournament in August in Maryland, and it says they've been working with the Maryland State Athletic Commission. They're going to have the necessary testing and safety measures in a continued effort to prevent the spread of COVID. And there will be no fans or staff who are not essential to the production present during these events.
So,
So they will be returning without fans. I guess they probably held off as long as they felt like they could. But I mean, you're right. I mean, you're right. I mean, when every other major wrestling promotion has returned, I think even MLW has returned early, like late last month. They probably couldn't hold off any longer.
well, and the thing is they're actually, and I want to make a point here quick before I ask you the question I wanted to ask you. But the thing is they're coming in behind. Every other organization is now allowing 25% capacity, including Major League Baseball, hockey, basketball. They're allowing 25% capacity pretty much across the world in stadiums. And now Ring of Honor is coming in. The only other company that's not an independent that took time off was NJPW, and they came back, what, 3 months ago, 2 months ago.
Beginning end of June, beginning of July. So it's been about I don't know, like 6 weeks.
Right, and they came back under the no fans in the audience, mantra. And now Ring of Honor, when everybody's allowing 25% capacity, they're saying, no, we're not going to have fans. So I just don't know where they're going with anything. But regardless, I'm glad they're coming back. I'm glad to see it. You're gonna now. This is the question I had is I don't know anything about the Pure Championship. It was gone by the time I started watching Ring of Honor. I've seen a few matches here and there. I know it's considered a wrestling championship. I know there's different rules, like they only allow 2 rope breaks or 3 rope breaks a match. Then it's just whatever.
Hmm.
But I don't really know much about the rules with it and what makes this a pure wrestling championship. Because in my mind, when I think pure wrestling, I think it's technical wrestling only.
Well, at the time that the Pure title originally was in
We lost you there.
existence, and for like the first 9 years or the first 7 or 8 years of Ring of Honor's existence, there was no count out. Um,
Okay.
you know, the referee at his discretion could disqualify wrestlers for being outside the ring for too long, and which I never actually saw happen. I mean, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but it didn't happen while I was watching. But pure title matches did have a count out stipulation on them because it was supposed to be pure, a pure wrestling title. And then, like you said, each wrestler would have a total of 3 rope breaks that they could use during a match. So, you're struggling, you're caught in, I don't know, the abdominal stretch, and you can't work your way out of it. So you're work your way to the ropes. Um, you are forced to use one of your rope breaks, then you've only got two left. So once you're out of rope breaks, then your opponent can use the ropes for leverage to get a pinfall. They can use rope for leverage for submission if you're tangled up in the ropes and you happen to get pinned. Too bad. There's no breaks involved in it. And there's also a strategy of you would have your opponent in a submission. Well, then you could back into the, like, say you have them in a sleeper, you could like kind of back into the ropes and make them use a rope break. Um,
See,
and then also there was a rule that, because it is a pure wrestling championship and pure wrestling matches, there's no closed fists allowed. So instead of a FICA 5 count or like admonishing about using a closed fist, it would be an automatic disqualification if you had no rope breaks left. Otherwise, you'd be penalized for the first one, a rope break. For the second one, would be an automatic disqualification.
see, now that last one is the only rule that I would identify um, with a what I would call a pure championship wrestling match. Because if you think about it, okay, the rope break stipulation's great. It's great fodder, but once the rope break stipulation is done, then it just goes out the window. You can stay in the hold as long as they desire. Well, then it
Right,
kind of
right,
turns
right, right,
into
because it forces you to have to wrestle your way out of a hold rather than basically breaking the plane of the ring to get out of the hold.
okay. That kind of makes sense then. Okay, that makes sense. So explain to me the no 10 count. I mean, when you look at it that way, all of a sudden we're starting to get into extreme rules territory where there's no countouts.
No, I said it the other way. No, the other way around. There didn't used to be a count out in Ring of Honor, but there was in the pure title matches.
Oh, okay, okay, that makes sense. Now, I misheard that. I thought you said that there wasn't a count out in the pure title matches.
No, there was never a count out in Ring of Honor until like 2009.
Okay,
So instead of doing a count out, if two wrestlers were outside the ring for too long of a time, then the referee at his discretion could disqualify that wrestler.
okay. I'd like to see them figure so that then that makes sense. I like to see that where it's a pure wrestling where you have to do wrestling in
Right,
order to win. Okay, now it makes more sense. Now I'm excited to see it come back
right.
because
So of course, then the way basically it kind of worked, Jeff, was that the baby faces would just try to out wrestle their opponents, whereas the heels, or just like somebody wrestling Rocky Romero sneaky style, would could make their opponents use a rope race and then just use the ropes to their advantage the entire rest of the match. You know.
yeah, I mean, I would like to see it. If a chair gets used or a table gets used or they hit somebody outside the ring, it's an automatic disqualification.
Oh right, yeah. I mean, all those regular wrestling rules still apply.
No, I mean automatic because now you watch somebody in a regular wrestling match and there's 15 broken tables and 5 chair shots when they're outside the ring. Then all of a sudden they get in the ring. Oh no, you can't use a chair now.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
That's become modern day wrestling.
Yeah,
You know,
they almost should now, in this day and age, since there already are countouts in Ring of Honor, they should make it so that a wrestler has to stay in the ring. Or
bring me the remote, Arlo.
that if they if they leave the ring, it's similar where they would lose one of their rope breaks or something.
I mean, I understand falling out of the ring, but if you purposely leave the ring, no, the other remote, Arlo. But if you purposely leave the ring, then you should lose a rope break.
Right, and then you kind of have it as you can have like the referee's discretion, like there always was in like WCW and USWA for the over the top thing.
Right. Okay, yeah, that it does make more sense now. So,
Okay, good.
oh, what did you do, kid?
So yeah, so they're returning later this month. I'm just looking on the site more to see if there's. I mean, let's look for the actual date because it just says this month, and we're already 11 days into the month. You know,
Right.
so I'm just going on the live part of the site now just to see. It's kind of funny because I was checking every few days for this kind of stuff for a while, and now I haven't checked it for a while, and of course, they've got this post up, but no, it does not say. the actual date that they're returning. So they still have all the old stuff about like past versus present and the anniversary show and that kind of stuff on here.
Yeah, it just says August 2020. Every post just says August 2020 in Maryland,
Right.
but it doesn't say when the Maryland.
No,
Well, that's odd.
does it say when or where in Maryland?
I will say this: they've used this on the app. I mean, granted, I'm not entirely satisfied with the way they did it because I don't like just blacking or blanking out and then us still watching a dead silence during entrances. But at least they did go back through and take care of some of that and put a lot of the older shows on
Yep.
through every year of the first 11 years of existence.
Yep.
So
They did do that absolutely.
yeah, so I am happy about that. That made me happy. But I am a little disappointed with the fact that a company the size of Sinclair didn't do more to. It's weird because I have mixed feelings about it. I personally think everybody should be stuck at home, but I also think that if they wanted to continue, there were safety precautions in place, and Japan proved that 3 months ago. Well, 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. But you like you and I've talked about before whether fans in the United States will be willing to do what the fans in Japan have always been willing to do is another question.
And then Japan is impressive. I'm not going to lie. The fact that they're told not to shout and they don't, they just clap harder or stomp a little more. They're told not to actually use their mouths to make noise, and they abide by those rules. It's just amazing because you would never see that in America.
No, I really don't think so. Um, so how I guess not following sports as much as I used to. I didn't realize that baseball was allowing 25% attendance. I thought it was mostly like in those skyboxes they were doing that kind of stuff. Is it actually in the stands now?
I guess I don't know. I'm just was watching clips today. I haven't sat down and watched an actual baseball game, or in hockey they were empty stadiums. It was just the people that were there to maintain the stadium and the
Well, that's
personnel.
because nobody wants to watch hockey.
Oh, it's the playoffs. Everyone wants to watch hockey. But I did watching highlights last night. I did see some baseball clips where there were fans in the stadium, or at least it looked like it. And same thing with basketball. It looked like there were fans. And I know that, most states are allowing 25% capacity.
Okay.
It seems like baseball is, proactive about it, where if a certain amount of people come up sick on a team, they cancel those teams' games, and they also cancel the games of the last team they were with. So like the St. Louis Cardinals were playing against somebody, like 6 or 7 people came down with COVID, and they canceled all their entire series against the Cubs. And then because they were at home, it wasn't that big of a deal. But if they had been at another stadium, like 2 days prior, they would cancel those games as well to make sure everything was cleaned.
Yeah, it's interesting, because kind of wonder will things get reversed again. You know, is there going to be a second wave? If that second wave happens, will it be at the same time as flu season? And was everything going to go back the way that it was in March, where everything is shut down all over again?
I think we're not going to be at normal again. I don't think we're ever going to be back to what we knew as normal 6 8 months ago. I think that a lot of companies are going to change their thought process. There's going to be a lot more companies allowing work from home. Restaurants are pretty much going to be changing the way they do things in Walmart, because the public will never allow them to not do curbside pickup. Like me, Walmart is amazing now because I just go on the app. Whenever I think of something that I need, I put it in my shopping cart on the app, and then I schedule a pickup time every other Saturday, and I go pick up all my groceries, call them when I'm on my way. 5 minutes in and out and back home.